Hello, my friend. Thank you for coming back and sitting with me for a little while today. There is something very strange about time. When we are living inside it, we don't always notice it passing. A morning spent making breakfast, a small pair of shoes left by the door, a jacket forgotten on the back of a chair, a voice calling from upstairs, "Mom, I can't find my socks." Those things happen so often that we begin to believe they will always be there. And then one day, the house feels a little quieter. The shoes by the door are bigger than we remember. The jacket on the chair no longer looks so small. And the voice calling "Mom" comes a little less often. Not because the love has become smaller, not because something has disappeared completely, just because a child has been growing up quietly. Today I want to tell you about a woman named Karen. Karen had a son named Noah, and for many years, like so many parents, Karen thought she was watching him grow up, day by day. But later, she would come to understand something. Some changes happen too slowly for us to see. Until one day we look back and realize that what we feel is not only sadness, it is gratitude too. Karen was 48 years old. She lived in a small house in the suburbs with her husband and their 17-year-old son, Noah. There was nothing extraordinary about the house. A front lawn that was mowed on weekends, a small wooden bench on the porch, an old maple tree near the driveway. And in the kitchen beside the doorway that led into the dining room, there was a row of pencil marks on the wall. That was where Karen used to measure Noah's height when he was little. A few times a year, Noah would stand up straight, heels against the wall, chin lifted just a little. Karen would place a book on top of his head. Then she would make a small pencil mark. Beside it, she would write the date. Some of the old words had faded. Age 5, first grade, almost 8, summer before middle school. Each little mark held a piece of time. When Noah was small, he loved being measured. Sometimes he would run into the kitchen and say, "Mom, measure me again. I think I'm taller today." Karen would laugh. "We just measured you last week." But Noah would still stand against the wall, very seriously, as if in only 7 days he might have grown a great deal. And maybe in some way, he had. Not only in height, but in the way he spoke, in the things he noticed, in the way he began to understand the world. Karen didn't think about it like that back then. To her, Noah was still the little boy, running through the house in mismatched socks. The little boy who loved pancakes on Saturday mornings. The little boy who asked 100 questions before bed. "Mom, why does the moon follow our car? Mom, do fish sleep? Mom, were you afraid of the dark when you were little?" Some nights, Karen was tired. She just wanted to turn off the light and have a few quiet minutes. But Noah kept asking questions, one after another. Sometimes Karen answered patiently. Sometimes she said, "We'll talk about it tomorrow, sweetheart." And Noah would nod, as if tomorrow were a place that would always be waiting. Those years passed in the familiar sounds of family life. The sound of a cereal box opening in the morning, a backpack dropping onto the floor, a basketball bouncing in the driveway, the washing machine running on Sunday night, Noah calling from his room because he couldn't find his team shirt. Karen used to joke that their house was never truly quiet. There was always something to pick up, wash, fold, sign, prepare, remind. Some days she felt like the manager of a very busy little world. School schedules, soccer practice, dentist appointments, science projects, birthday parties, packed lunches, sneakers, jackets, forms that needed to be signed by morning. Karen loved Noah more than anything. But there were days when she wished things would slow down a little. Or if she was being honest, days when she wished Noah could do more things on his own. Make his own breakfast, find his own socks, remember his own jacket, go to bed without being reminded 3 times. She did not blame herself for feeling tired, because parenting is like that. There are days full of love, and there are very long days too. Only later did Karen understand something. Some of the things that once made you tired can one day become the very sounds you miss most. Noah grew up in the most ordinary way. There was no big moment that announced it. No bell rang. No one told Karen to pay attention. It was just that one day, he no longer needed her to tie his shoes. Another day, he made himself a sandwich. Another day, he closed his bedroom door when he talked to his friends. And another day, he no longer wanted her to walk him all the way into school. "You can drop me off here, Mom." The first time he said that, Noah was in 6th grade. Karen remembered it clearly. She was driving toward the school entrance. Noah was in the back seat wearing his backpack and holding his lunchbox. When they were still a little distance from the front doors, he said, "Can you let me out here?" Karen looked in the rearview mirror. "Here, but it's still a bit of a walk." "That's okay. I can walk." She understood. It wasn't because he was tired of her. It wasn't because he didn't love her. He was simply at that age when he wanted his friends to see him as a little more grown up. Karen pulled over. Noah opened the door. "Thanks, Mom." Then he stepped out. Before he closed the door, Karen said, "Have a good day." Noah nodded. "Okay." No hug at the school entrance, no kiss on the cheek, just a quick nod. Then he blended into the group of students, walking toward the doors. Karen sat in the car for a few seconds, her hands still on the steering wheel. She told herself, this is normal. He's growing up. And it was normal. But some normal things can still make your heart sink a little. Not because they are bad, but because they remind you that one season is quietly ending, and another one is beginning. When Noah was 15, his voice began to change. Karen remembered the first morning she noticed it. She was standing in the kitchen pouring coffee. Noah came down the stairs and said, "Morning, Mom." Just 2 words. But the voice was no longer the voice of the little boy she had heard every morning for years. Karen turned and looked at him. He was almost as tall as she was. Messy hair, oversized hoodie, one earbud in, phone in his hand. For one brief moment, she saw 2 versions of him at the same time. The 5-year-old in dinosaur pajamas, and the teenager standing in front of her. Both were Noah. Both were her son. She just didn't know exactly when she had crossed the bridge between the two. She handed him a plate of toast. "Do you want eggs?" Noah shook his head. "This is fine." Then he sat at the table, opened his phone, dates quickly, ordinary, rushed. Nothing said about it. Just life. But Karen stood at the kitchen counter, holding her coffee, and suddenly remembered another morning from years before. Noah sitting at that same table, his feet not yet touching the floor, maple syrup on his mouth, telling her that her pancakes were the best thing in the world. She wondered when he had said that for the last time, and she could not remember. She smiled softly, not with regret, but with gratitude that such a morning had existed at all, that there had once been a little boy at that table, that there had once been syrup pancakes and laughter. And in some quiet way, those things were still there, in the kitchen, in her memory. And the young man Noah was becoming right in front of her. Time kept moving. Noah learned to drive. He got a part-time job at a pizza place near the house. He had his own group of friends. He came home later than he used to. His answers became shorter. "Yeah, I'm fine, I know. I'll do it later." Karen learned not to ask too many questions. She learned to stand outside his bedroom door and knock instead of walking right in. She learned to text him, even when they were both inside the same house. She learned to leave a plate of food in the microwave on nights when Noah came home late. She also learned how to love him from a new distance, a distance no one really teaches parents how to prepare for. Then in the spring of Noah's senior year, a large envelope arrived at the house. In the corner was the name of a college more than 4 hours away. Noah held the envelope in his hands. Standing in the middle of the living room, Karen stood beside her husband. All three of them looked at one another. Noah opened it, read a few lines, then looked up. "I got in." For 1 second, the room was silent. Then Karen wrapped her arms around him. Her husband clapped Noah on the shoulder. Everyone laughed. Karen was truly happy. So happy that tears came to her eyes. She was proud of him, proud of how hard he had worked, proud that he was about to begin a new chapter of his life. And underneath that joy, there was another feeling, a quiet one, like a leaf landing on water. Not a great sadness, not a loss, just the strange feeling of realizing that the child she had once carried in her arms was getting ready to walk into the world on his own 2 feet. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Karen went downstairs to the kitchen by herself. She turned on the small light over the counter. Then she stood in front of the pencil marks on the wall. The last mark had been made almost 2 years earlier, age 15. After that, there were no more marks, not because Noah had stopped growing, but because no one had thought to measure anymore. Karen ran her fingers gently over the old writing. Age 5, age 8, age 12, age 15. She stood there for a long time, and for the first time, time did not feel like an idea. It was right there in front of her, in the fading pencil marks on the kitchen wall. But what she felt was not only sadness. She felt grateful too, grateful that she had once placed a book on top of his head, grateful that she had heard him laugh because he believed he had grown since last week, grateful that she had written those small numbers on the wall, grateful that, year after year, she had been allowed to stand there and watch a life grow inside her own home. The summer before Noah left for college passed faster than Karen wanted it to. There was a list of things to buy: towels, bed sheets, a desk lamp, hangers, a laundry basket, cold medicine, an extension cord, a new jacket, very practical things, very ordinary things. And somehow, those ordinary tasks helped Karen move through that summer a little more gently. Karen and Noah went shopping for his dorm room one Saturday afternoon. Noah pushed the cart. Karen held the list. "Do you need another pillow? One is probably fine. Do you want a thicker blanket? Mom, they have heat there. What about a medicine box? Mom, I know how to take medicine." Karen laughed. "I know." But the truth was, her heart had not yet learned how to stop checking everything for him. When Noah was little, she knew exactly what he needed: a jacket, a juice box, a bandage, a bedtime story. Now the list was not as clear. Her son needed freedom, space, trust, the chance to make his own mistakes. Karen knew that. Her heart just needed a little more time to catch up. 1 week before Noah left, Karen decided to clean out the hallway closet. She told herself it was only to make room for suitcases and dorm supplies. But when she opened the closet door, she found a small pair of shoes tucked away in the back. Old blue sneakers, about the size a 6-year-old would wear. Karen picked them up. The soles were worn. One shoelace had been replaced with a different color. There was an old dry mark of mud near the toe. She recognized them immediately. They were the shoes Noah had worn almost every day when he was little. He used to say they were the fastest shoes in the world. Karen sat down on the hallway floor, the shoes in her hands, and she laughed softly. Not because the shoes were funny, but because she could hear Noah's little boy voice so clearly. "Mom, watch. I can run faster than the wind." She remembered him racing across the yard. She remembered him falling, scraping his knee, trying not to cry. She remembered kneeling down, blowing gently on the scrape, and putting on a bandage. She remembered so much that the house almost seemed to echo with small footsteps again. Karen set the shoes beside her. Then she pulled out another box. Inside were things she had always meant to organize one day. kindergarten papers, a toy car missing one wheel, a Mother's Day card, a crayon drawing. In the picture, there was a woman with yellow hair, a small boy, and a very large son. At the bottom, in a child's handwriting, Noah had written, "Mom is my home." Karen looked at those words for a long time. Then she covered her mouth with her hand, not because she was in pain, but because a love too large to name had returned to her in the shape of an old piece of paper. That night, Noah came home from work late. It was almost 10 o'clock when he walked in. His pizza shop shirt was wrinkled. His hair was messy from wearing a cap all evening. "I'm home." Karen was sitting at the kitchen table. In front of her were the old blue shoes and a few things from the box. Noah saw them and laughed. "Oh my gosh, you still have those shoes?" Karen looked at him. "I found them in the closet." Noah picked one up and turned it in his hand. "I remember these. I used to think they made me run faster." "I remember." Noah smiled. "I'm pretty sure they didn't." "Maybe not," Karen said, "but you believe they did." Noah sat down across from her. For a little while, they both just looked at the things on the table. The room was not sad, only quiet. The kind of quiet that sometimes comes when two people are looking at a piece of life that has already passed, but still feels close. Karen slid the old drawing toward him. Noah read the words, "Mom is my home." He was quiet. Then he smiled, a little embarrassed. "I really wrote that." "You did," Karen said. Noah looked at the paper for a while longer. Then he said softly, "I still think that." Karen looked up. Noah didn't look at her right away. He kept his eyes on the drawing. Then he added, "It's just, home can be in more than one place now." Karen felt her eyes begin to sting. She nodded. "I understand." And the strange thing was, she really did. Her son was not leaving her. He was stepping into his own life. And if she had done anything right over all those years, perhaps it was this. He felt safe enough to leave. But he still knew the way home. The day they drove Noah to college came quickly. The car was packed full. Suitcases, cardboard boxes, pillows, a desk lamp, a laundry basket, an old backpack. Karen checked the list one more time. Then one more time after that. Her husband smiled. "That's the fourth time you've checked it." "I know," Karen said. But she looked again anyway. Noah was standing in the yard talking on the phone with a friend. He was taller than she was now, broader in the shoulders, his voice deeper, car keys in his hand. Karen watched him through the window. And for a moment, she saw the 6-year-old standing beside his little bicycle. Then the 6th grader, asking to be dropped off before the school entrance. Then the teenager eating toast in the kitchen. Then the young man, getting ready to leave home. All those versions of Noah seemed to stand together in her mind, and she loved them all. On the drive to the college, Noah sat in the back seat for a while, then moved up front to take a turn driving for his father. Karen sat in the back. She looked at the back of her son's head, at his hands on the steering wheel, the same hands that had once held tightly to hers while crossing the street. She did not say anything. She only looked and tried to remember, not because she was losing something, but because she knew she was witnessing something beautiful, a child who had been loved long enough to step forward. The dorm was crowded. Families were pulling suitcases, carrying boxes, looking for elevators, asking for directions. Mothers were smoothing bed sheets. Fathers were assembling desk lamps. New students were excited and nervous all at once. Noah picked up his room key. The room was small. 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 window overlooking the campus lawn. Karen helped him make the bed. She placed towels in a drawer. She put cold medicine into a small box, even though she knew Noah might not remember where it was. She tried to do everything slowly, as if folding a shirt a little more carefully might slow time down. But eventually, everything was done. The bed was made. Books were on the desk. The lamp was plugged in. The empty suitcase was under the bed. Karen's husband looked at the time. We should probably head out. Noah stood in the middle of the room. He was not the little boy who once held onto her leg on the first day of preschool. But in Karen's eyes, some part of that little boy was still there. She stepped forward and hugged him. Noah hugged her back. At first quickly, then a little longer. Karen did not want to cry. She really tried not to. But the tears came anyway. And she was not ashamed of them. Some tears do not come because something is broken. They come because a beautiful chapter is turning into the next one. She said, "I'm proud of you." Noah nodded. "I know." Then after a second he added, "I love you too, Mom." Karen smiled. "I love you too." She let go, adjusted his collar even though it did not need adjusting, then stepped back. At the door, she turned around one last time. Noah stood there, in his new room, with a new life beginning around him. He raised his hand and waved. Karen waved back. Then she walked into the hallway. The drive home was quieter than usual. Her husband drove. Karen sat in the passenger seat. She looked out the window. Trees passed by. Small towns came and went. Highway signs. Late afternoon light stretching across the road. After a long while, her husband reached over and took her hand. Neither of them said anything. Some moments do not need many words. When they got home, it was already dark. Karen opened the front door. The house was still the same house, but the sound inside was different. There were no footsteps from Noah on the stairs. No refrigerator door opening late at night. No low music coming from his bedroom. No large shoes near the door. Karen stood still for a few seconds. Then she took a slow breath. The house was quieter, but it was not empty. It still held everything that had lived there. The hurried mornings, the late dinners, the bedtime questions, the laughter in the yard, the pencil marks on the wall. Karen walked into the kitchen, turned on the small light over the counter, then looked at the pencil marks. She stepped closer, touched the last one gently. Age 15. After a moment, she took a pencil from the drawer. Standing in front of that wall, she wrote one more line beneath the last mark. Left for college. She looked at the words, not as an ending, but as another milestone, another kind of measurement, not of height anymore, but of something every parent eventually learns, the distance between holding a child close and loving them enough to let them go. A few days later, Karen received a text from Noah. It was only a photo. His new desk, a water bottle, an open book, a package of instant noodles. And in the corner of the desk, Karen saw something that made her pause. It was the small card she had secretly tucked into Noah's suitcase. Inside, she had written only one sentence. Wherever you go, you are loved. Noah did not write much, just one line. Found this. Thanks, Mom. Karen looked at the screen. She smiled. Then she wrote back. Anytime, sweetheart. She almost added more. Have you eaten? How is your roommate? Are you sleeping enough? Do you miss home? But she stopped, deleted most of it, and sent only, have a good night. A little while later, Noah replied, You too. Karen set the phone down. Outside the kitchen window, the porch light was glowing. The old maple tree stood quietly in the dark. The house was quieter than before, but it was not empty, because love does not disappear just because a room becomes quiet. It only changes shape, from a voice calling down the stairs to a short text at the end of the day, from small shoes by the door to a desk in another town, from bedtime questions to two simple words, Thanks, Mom. And sometimes that is enough for a mother to know her child is still there, just in another chapter of life. You know, I think one of the gentlest and hardest parts of being a parent is learning to watch your child change without trying to keep them forever inside the version you remember most. We remember the child who ran toward us, the small hand, the bright voice, the endless questions, even the things that once made us tired. Then one day, we realize that child is still there, but not in the same way. They are older now. They have their own thoughts, their own world, places they need to go, things they need to experience for themselves. And maybe that is not something we lose. Maybe it is something we helped become true. If love, when they are small, means tying shoes, packing lunch, wiping tears, and reminding them to wear a jacket, then love, when they are older, may mean learning to stand at the door, to smile, to wave, and to let them know that home is still here. I like what Karen did with the kitchen wall. She did not erase the old marks. She did not try to measure what had already passed. She simply added one more line. Left for college. Because sometimes growing up does not mean the story is over. It only means love has to learn a new way to walk beside someone. A little lighter, a little wider, a little theater, but just as deep as it was from the very beginning. If today's story made you think of a child who has grown, your child, your grandchild, or maybe even yourself in the eyes of your own parents, I hope you hold that feeling gently. Maybe tonight, you will look at an old photograph, a small pair of shoes, a pencil mark on the wall, or a room that has become quieter than it used to be. And if there is a little sadness in it, maybe that is not a bad thing. Maybe it is only proof that there was so much love there, and still is, just in another shape. Thank you for sitting with me today. I truly appreciate it. Until our next story, take good care of yourself. And if someone you once held in your arms is now more grown than you realized, maybe today it only takes a small message. Not a long one, just enough to let them know that whatever chapter of life they are in, they are still loved. This is Companion. Stories that remind us what truly matters.